There's a really amazing podcast that I just listened to the other day because price controls came up in the news or in the election cycle, and they kind of talk about it and go into detail. I don't want to do that here because we have something very important that we need to get to. But
Hmm.
the long and short of it is prices are not set by like prices and everything. They're not what you think they are. They are a signal to the market for how much people are they're willing to pay for something, and then and they're also a signal for demand to indicate how much demand there is for something. Um, they're also a really wonderful way to indicate to you the amount of work and effort that went into making and crafting that product. There is a reason why why good quality things are expensive. It's because there's a lot of materials and a lot of high quality materials and a lot of high quality effort that went into building that product and stuff. There's a whole lot more that we could say. I'm not very good at explaining prices and everything, so allow me to redirect you to that podcast. It's Making the Argument by Nick Freitas, Freitas. Making the Argument, Nick Freitas, Price Controls. Highly recommend it. It's phenomenal. Um, so yeah,
We'll
and
see if we can put that in comment section everywhere.
yeah,
I look at it this way: a lot of things you said kind of went to it directly. So, for example, if somebody tries to sell bread at $10 a loaf,
yeah.
right, and
Which
they're selling bread. Somebody's
I
going to
have,
say,
I have seen bread at $10 a loaf.
I sometimes pay $10 a loaf bread,
Yep. You
but I
and
won't pay
very.
$10 a loaf for Wonder Bread,
Yep. Yep. Exactly. I'm with you.
right? So there's a market at every price point, right?
Yep.
A nice organic bread that's baked, that's spun by hand or like in small batches, right?
Yep.
You can feel the difference, right? It doesn't feel metally robotic or anything, right? There's a difference.
Yeah.
So, and there's
Exactly.
ingredients that go into it, and nice breads are just nice. If when you bite into the bread and you smell the charcoal, right? That's oven roasted. Okay, there it is, right? You know what you're paying for, right? A piece of little God's earth.
Right.
So and labor, right? So somebody's going to say, okay, look, there's $10. Wonder Bread is selling at $10 a loaf. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I see a bag of flour here and
Yep.
some yeast, and I realize I can make it for like a buck 50,
Uh huh.
and I could probably talk to the store and see what they say, and yeah, maybe I have to pay the store a little bit to do something to sell it, right? But
Uh
whatever
huh.
it takes. And they come in, they say they make a 50% profit at $5 a loaf,
Uh
right?
huh.
The next person says, "Good, I can do this better," right? And this is open economies,
Yep.
right? And essentially that's how it works, right? Somebody's going to say, "Gosh, Wonder Bread at $10 a loaf? Nah, I wish I had a better solution. Crap, I can make it. I bet there's a bunch of other people, right?"
Yep.
And somebody besides them, or even better, really, what happens is grandma's over there. She's like, "There's no way I'm paying this for bread. I'm going to go make it myself." The mother hears it. She's like, "I wish I had time to make for it. How much would you charge?" And then there's three people around like, "I will buy your grandma's bread because I hate Wonder Bread."
Yeah.
Right, and at
Yeah.
$10,
Exactly.
and the same thing, right? What can you do? What that you're unsatisfied?
Excuse me.
I've heard that the one of the funnest things to do is go look through your credit card statement and see what you feel like you didn't get great value from on your
Yeah.
purchase, right? Or look through your receipt and say, what in here after I ate it didn't feel like it was great value, right? Hard to do when you're hungry, easy to do after you're satisfied.
Well, that's one of the. I mean, that's the reason why. So, like, I'm going to attack some of my family.
Oh boy, well this is
Problem.
sport.
It is a sport for them, and they get a lot of joy out of that, and they get a lot of happiness out of that. That is fine. That is good. Do that if it makes you happy to go and buy that product at a really good price and really cheap rate, then go and do it. That's fine. I'm not even
We're not
remotely.
knocking that.
Yeah. The what I am going to say is oftentimes that segment of my family will end up buying a lot of the same products over and over and over again,
Hmm.
because when you are looking for the things that are on sale and you are looking for the quote unquote best price, often what is happening is you are sacrificing quality. When you sacrifice quality,
Yep.
you end up spending a lot more. So there's a really good example, or a really good way to think about it is, uh, quote unquote rich people, people who like to spend money, quote unquote rich people will spend like $500 on a pair of shoes that'll last them like 10 years or something like that. Whereas poor people will spend $100 on a pair of shoes every single year, and so end up paying more than the rich person over time. So if you buy a pair of shoes now that you know is
Don't
going
think
to,
sneakers, think shoes.
yeah, shoes, not
Shoes or
sneakers.
boots.
Yeah, we think of when you buy a pair of shoes that's like $500 and that lasts you 5 years. That means that you ended up actually saving yourself a ton of money, because if you spend $100 on a pair of shoes for 5 years, that $100 pair of shoes is actually either a going to degrade in quality because you can't, because of the of inflation. We all are knowing, we're all feeling that today, especially in the U.S. I don't know how it is for you, but it's like we're really feeling that today. And there's this thing that is called shrinkflation, where they try to keep the same, they try to keep the price the same, but they decrease the amount, the quantity or the size of the object that you are buying. You can see that all over social media. I'm not going to rehash that. But what I'm
Yeah,
talking
and then
about
there's
is,
engineering for limited lifetime.
yes, there's that too. Um, what I'm talking about is, all right, that $100 pair of shoes is probably going to cost you something like $110. The $100 pair of shoes.
So the $100 pairs when Biden became president is
Yeah.
now $240.
Yes. Yes. That's that.
Three
So
and a
over
half years later.
4 years, like that climbed up. So you should have bought a $500 pair of shoes 5 years ago instead of $100 pair of shoes, because then you wouldn't have spent a ton of extra money. And so that's like I go back to the whole, I understand trying to go and find the best deal for things, but when you are going and you are trying to, when that is your paramount thing, you end up sacrificing the you end up sacrificing quality. You need to be looking for quality, or you should be looking for quality first, and then look for the deals and stuff. That's the important thing. That's my
Yeah.
opinion. I know a lot of people are
I
probably
have a
going to be
very different
screaming at
opinion.
me.
In fact,
Oh
the
boy.
opposite opinion,
Oh, good, good.
right?
Let's argue.
It's the exact opposite opinion. I think what you need to do is not worry about the price, how expensive it is, how cheap it is. You should produce enough income where you can get the best in class and not worry if it's on sale,
Yeah,
if it's a leftover supply, if it's on sale because
that's
all the
fine.
other ones are left and this is the store model that people tried on, right? Just raise your income, do some work, be creative, get out there, make a change in the world, make some money, and let the world come and serve you.
I mean, I'm good with that. That's a good opinion too.
Dave Ramsey is eating bullets right now.
I'm a huge fan of his, although I'm trying really hard to. Anyway, whatever. Ooh, I gotta set a reminder for myself. Hold on.
I like David Ramsey ish. I'm not in love with him. I think
I
kind of ish, but
I
I do
think
like
a
him.
lot. I think that's a lot of people is they're not really like they sit. So a lot of people will caveat his advice with, oh, it's good advice for getting out of debt. To be blunt, it's really that when you say that, you're trying to like give yourself an excuse not to listen to his advice. That's blunt.
I know I can't agree with that because the inflation's been getting up so much lately. Get it, get it, get that house. And no, seriously, you're paying rents, right? If you're looking at paying rent or getting a foreclosure, bring it. Go for that. Go for that because it's so easy, so much easier to negotiate and deal with. The
I
just don't do the barbecue and all that crazy shit. Like focus on paying down that 20%, that initial 20% that lowers your your mortgage insurance, right? So there, until you pay off
Well,
like
that's
25%, there's a
yeah,
PMI, right? You have, it's
yes,
additional expenses on
true.
your mortgage, right? Get that down as quick as possible. But it's so much easier to get that down when you're not paying rent than it is just save up. And especially where inflation is so high, I don't think inflation is going to stop, right? I don't think our beautiful vice president slash president is going to simplify uh, the life of people when she gets promoted, right?
Yeah,
So that's my opinion, right? Things are just going to get more expensive. So saving right now doesn't make sense because of the rate of inflation.
I well, I don't think it matter. I don't think that's going to matter much in the long run. As far as rate of
Yeah, soon if you
inflation.
have a house, they're going to make you put at least two illegal aliens in each room.
Yeah, exactly. I would so the way I would disagree in the sense that if you cannot pay, like if you can't, one, the first thing is don't buy more house than you can afford, which
Hmm.
is the so
That's a good start. Yeah, buy a
yeah,
really the tiniest friggin' house you can
yeah,
suffer.
yeah,
Right,
exactly. Like
one and a half
there,
bathrooms, a shower,
lit,
and an extra toilet.
yeah,
Right.
that's actually really good advice.
Yeah. Uh,
Um, really,
three
so
rooms,
let me.
right? Because make more kids.
Good point. Let me put it this way for everybody. How I'm sure not a lot. I'm sure most of our listeners are in their 20s and barely remember the housing market crash of '08. Don't really remember it or whatever. If you do not remember it and because you lived through it, or you don't know what I'm talking about,
Or
stop listening to this
you're on mother's
podcast.
milk.
Stop listening to this podcast right now. Get your butt to the movie place and rent The Big Short because they talk about the housing market crash. The biggest issue is
And
at the
guys,
end
he
of
actually doesn't mean go to the movie place, right? Movie
I
places
said
like Netflix or
yes
Amazon
when
Prime.
I say that's what I mean when I say place. The audience is smart. They know what
Are
I
they
mean.
just are they listening to us because they're smart? Or they just like suffering?
I think they like suffering. Welcome to the suffering hour. Um
Right.
anyway,
Suffering zone.
like go and watch that because what happened is that they lowered the barrier to entry to getting a mortgage so much you could get a loan by is like what was it stated is you could get a loan
Stated
based
income. You don't have to
yes
prove your income. You don't have
that's
to show taxes. You all you had to do is say, "Yeah, this is my income," and you could get funding if you had decent credit.
I guess that is the official name. I thought there was an official name for it.
No,
um
you had it.
so it stated income loan, and there would be people who would sit there and say, "Oh, I have a $300,000 job," and a lot of times
Well, it's
the
like the guy's like, "I work at Walmart,"
yeah,
and they're like,
yep,
and you're like, "I'm a cashier." He's like, "Oh, you're a manager, and if you put on here that you make 300,000 a year, you'll qualify for this one. But if you do like
yep,
280, you won't qualify."
yep, yep, and they would do it, and next thing you know, they're getting foreclosed on because they can't afford all the payments and stuff.
Yep, but that
Because
badass son of a bitch made his money.
yep, exactly. And they didn't care. That's why, again, that's why go watch the movie The Big Short because they show those people. They show those mortgage lenders and stuff and how they
Yep.
acted and how they behaved. It is
Oh yeah.
phenomenally important for you to go do that. Anyway, so that's why that's why I say like do your best to save up 20%, buy a house that you buy as much house as you can afford, and there you go. Like, and that's Dave Ramsey's advice. Like, that's
Yeah.
good. That's just good real
That's
estate
good advice.
advice.
Phil's advice is along similar lines, just go buy that freaking house. Stated income. Get the smallest, simplest house that you can get, right? That's
That,
going to support your kids.
yeah,
Plus, if you're within
yeah,
childbearing years, plus one extra room,
yeah.
um, or unless you can put them in the other room, right, for a little bit. But get that house now because even if Trump wins, if Trump wins, inflation prices of houses are going to go up. Inflation will go down, prices will go up of property.
Mm-hmm.
If Harris, if our beautiful, lovely, perfect vice president gets promoted to president through totally proper and reasonable election means,
No
then
fortification necessary.
no fortification necessary. Um, then it's going to be even better because if you buy that house now, it's going to double in
Mm-hmm.
value,
Oh,
just as electricity triples or quadruples in costs.
yep. So my mortgage, my house
But don't
is.
do the big mistake that what did a lot of people do with the state income, especially the people that relied on their state income. What did they do?
I'm lost at where you're at. They just
So,
stopped paying, basically.
well, no. So what happened is they found that they could lie about their incomes,
Yep.
and what they ended up doing was getting carried away, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
this was
Yep.
a bunch of children, basically, the immature
Yes.
adults that
Yes.
could realize they could get a big fancy house, got that big fancy house, couldn't afford it, lost it, right? Drove up the market prices in the meantime, but then couldn't afford it. They because of various laws that they were able to stay in there for 6 months to 18 months to procrastinate that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they realized that they could for the same amount of rent, they could get a bigger house. Then they got greedy, right? And that's the cool
Yep.
thing, right? For the same amount that you pay in rent, if you take that to your mortgage, you can you can live in a better house. The problem that
Yep.
they don't tell you about is that now you're responsible for fixing things that break.
Yep.
Your furnace goes out, your job. Your roof has a
Yep.
leak, your problem, right?
Yep.
When you're renting, this is landlord problems, right?
Yep.
The you put toilet paper or a baby toy or a Barbie down the toilet, landlord has to fix it, right? You might get billed for some of that, but often not. And you don't have to worry about that. When it's your house, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, you're in a bucket if you have a one if you only have a one potty house. That's why I said 1.5 toilet.
Let me give a really good example that happened to me last summer. It was middle of summer. It was like some of the hottest days of the summer, and my AC went out. It died on me.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
You had
Oh,
something called
what?
um what's that insurance when you buy a new house?
Oh, ooh, ooh, oh, warranty.
Warranty, home warranty,
Yeah,
homeowner's
yeah, yeah,
warranty.
yeah. So,
That's good for
well,
2 or 5 years
it depends upon the equipment
if you pay for it.
and well, if you pay for it, you can get up to five. You can like continuously keep getting it year over year over year with your house.
Yep.
Um, but like typically speaking, what you don't pay for is like a 1 year warranty for some things and then a 2 year warranty for others. So the biggest. So anyway, long story short, I ended up having to call so I had to call my own, or I called my own AC guy to come and double check it because I needed to get it fixed. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
bad. And he was like, okay, well, it's probably your Freon just needs to be charged and set up and everything, which is actually a very quick job. It can be expensive, but it's pretty quick.
Yeah,
He
because
came out.
Freon's not cheap and there's a lot of regulation around it.
Yes. He came, he checked, was not the Freon. Guess what it was? A
Sensor.
wire. It was a wire from
Okay.
my breaker to my compressor. There, it had a short in it.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Had a
Yep.
short in it and needed to be replaced. He jury rigged up a system, and I got a guy to come, or I got the warranty people to come in and replace a wire.
Beautiful.
Think about that for a second. What happens when you have to replace a wire? You have to cut drywall all the way from wherever your breaker box is to the piece of equipment. That is not
Maybe. Maybe.
oh,
Okay. There's techniques,
please.
but I bet that's how they did it.
That is exactly how they did it because they're not always the brightest people.
Well, no, because insurance is going to pay for the whole thing, so they might as well fix your
Not
entire ceiling.
insurance warranty.
Same thing. Somebody else is paying for it, so make that
Well, yeah.
fix expensive.
Anyway, so yeah, it was an expensive. It would have been expensive if I had to pay for it on my own. And at the moment, I think I just fell out of the warranty. So, yay.
Oh, You're
Yeah,
so close, huh?
I am very close.
Did you renew it? So you mentioned you have the chance to
No,
renew.
I did not. I did not.
Did they give you an offer?
No, actually, they didn't, which surprised me. I was a little
Call them,
like,
see how
huh,
much to renew it.
we'll see. So, all right,
Keep
dude.
in mind that water tanks last like 5 to 10 years, and
I don't have a water
furnaces.
tank.
You're on demand
I'm on demand.
on one big central system or multiple?
One central system.
Oh well,
My
that's
house
same
isn't
thing.
that
How long do those last?
very long. They are
Oh,
like really good.